Okay, God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
Lord's will and God's pleasure.
Yeah, we thank God for the day. I can see indeed your plans have gone pretty for something. Yes. Okay. They missed quite something today, but I believe you'll share with them. Let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, as we study your word, I will pray that may your divine presence be with us, guide us and lead us through till the very end. For this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. So I hope you're working on your assignment. You're doing so. Yeah, I told you health reform is not disorderly. It's not done disorderly. You need to have a plan. I tell most people that even when you finish school, you'll only be useful to this world if you have an orderly way of doing things. You have a regular time for waking up. You have a regular time for eating your meals. You work within budgets. You know that you want to do B and C. You know how to save. The same thing also with the church and the health message and the things of God. I actually say people who are careless and indifferent in the things of this world will bring the same laziness in the things of God. So health reform is not that you've now learned the health message and then you live by chance. You have to plan. You have to have a daily meal that runs across the whole week. You need to have a regular time for waking up. And that brings me to a question about waking up. Who feels like waking up early in the morning? No one, is it? So it's not about you. It's about discipline. It's about conquering your day when it's still early. There's no virtue in sleeping too much, even if you're talented. You get it? Some people mistake talent for hard work. You may be naturally gifted in your mind, you may be gifted in something, but hard work is very important, and it's a principle of nature. So I'll suggest that if you really want to change your lifestyle, you need to come up with that menu. Have the budget line aside so that you can meet it as a student or even if you have a family, so that you can work within those parameters. I want to talk to you today. I shared that I'll say something a little about ulcers and diabetes, but the giant that we have today is cancer. Now, I'll just make a few statements here and there about cancer. But what comes to your mind when you hear of cancer? Yeah, death, isn't it? Anyone else?
Abnormal growth of cells.
Abnormal growth of cells. Lifestyle.
Immense treatment costs.
Yeah, immense treatment costs. Even the natural way is usually very expensive. Most cancer cases that we manage using natural remedies, because I've taken quite some time to particularly research and deal with how to manage cancers naturally. Your budget line cannot go below 130 per month. Just obtaining resources and everything to deal with what? With cancer. So it's not something, it's something that is costly, both in the hospitals and also to find it may require quite some costs to properly deal with it. For someone who has stage 3 or stage 4 or stage 2 cancer, to come to a point that they don't have it, it may take some time. But there are particular points here that I wanted to just share with you as we move forward. Now, when we talk about cancer, I must say that cancer is a form of papacy. When we study cancer, we don't study cancer as just a normal disease, but we see it as a form of papacy. And we normally call cancer cells purple cells. I believe you understand that illustrates that the study of the body is beyond just physical. We are studying God because man was formed in the image of God. So when we look at the DNA, and we look at how the body operates, there is law and order, isn't it? And what is the throne room in the body? Yeah?
The brain.
Of course, the brain, ultimately is the brain, but all these are made of cells. So in the cell,
The DNA.
it's the DNA, isn't it? The DNA is the one that calls the shots. I believe we all know that you pass your genes to generations to come, and your genetic makeup contains instructions. And we have the RNA that is supposed to pass that instruction from the DNA and make sure that it is applied outside of the DNA. Meaning your protein structure, the color of your eyes, your nails, your genetical makeup and everything. And that is the reason why, as we exist today, we understand that the throne room is the DNA. The interesting thing about cancer is that it seeks to attack the throne. What do we know about Satan? It wants to take the place of God, isn't it? And then cancer cells have no obedience to laws. They don't obey any law. By the way, cancer is the second leading cause of death, not just in the USA, but also is the second leading cause of death in the whole world today after cardiovascular diseases. And we are saying to a large extent, cancer may go ahead and overtake heart diseases, but I doubt. The problem with heart diseases is that we don't know when people have them. Half of those who have heart diseases don't even know they have until they have a stroke or a heart attack or some serious damage that is caused by impaired circulation. The same thing also goes with cancers. Most cancers are actually detected when they're already advanced because people don't even know the symptoms that come with cancer, the things you're supposed to look for, and the idea that we need to have regular checkup. I told you that if you can medically afford it, you should have regular checkup of your body and your system so that you understand your processes. Statistics portray that 1 out of every 3 people will get cancer, and 1 out of every 6 people will die from it, and 3 out of every 4 homes are affected by it. So we are not talking about something. I don't think I can compare COVID with cancer. Though COVID is exaggerated, but of course it's widespread a number of people. But cancer is a pandemic. Because right now cancer is affecting the whole world. And there is clearly no proper way that has been defined on how to deal with it. So the points that you need to understand about cancer is that cancer is an indication of the ongoing controversy between God and Satan. And defeating cancer should also be the purpose of men and women who live in harmony with the will and the laws of God. And that is why I want you to understand that as we are studying cancer today, we are not just looking at cancer, but I want also to help you see we are studying the Bible. We are studying the controversy that is ongoing, and we are also looking at the concept of who eventually will be able to win in this controversy. Now, like I told you, the gene is a portion of the DNA that codes instructions. I told you that the genes are holding all the instructions that you have, and they are part of the DNA. And we have over 100,000 genes actually that have that purpose within the body. And I shared with you that the body is so organized that it will not do anything without instruction. And these laws that govern the cells are the ones that govern the whole body, because he that is faithful in the least is also faithful in much, isn't it? Meaning if the basic unit of life in your body is adhering to the laws that God has given, then it means as a unit, the entire body will adhere to those laws. Now, because cancer is a menace, you can see some of these graphs here. We just want to look at how cancer is affecting the world today. This is between 1987. Okay, it's sharing, that's why it's projecting like that. Between 1987 and 1999. And what can you tell from that graph?
Steadily increasing.
It's steadily increasing, and that is the reason why we are seeing we are seeing a state where probably by 2025, out of every 3 people who are seated, 1 will be having cancer. And I can guarantee you that the medical costs of dealing with cancer are way high, both conventionally and even using natural remedies. Cancer is not like someone who has some hypertension or even diabetes. Cancer indicates that your system, we normally call it the end of disease. It's indicating that your body has gone through abuse and abuse and abuse to the point where by which the systems in the body that are supposed to assist in self-repair and regulation do not have the strength and the capacity to do it. It's a situation where your cells are going rogue. The immune system cannot handle it. At the same time, the body process cannot handle it. So the cancer cell goes out of range, and we can see that it's something rising. So that was mentioned, that was what was there. What do you think is happening today, 2021? So you can tell that graph is going up. And according to the statistics, 64 people die from every hour from cancer. And that is 1 person per minute. Is it preventable? Definitely yes. So as we're looking at it, we need to know that cancer is very preventable. What are the most common cancers that we find in men today, all over the world? Now we need to understand that the most common cancer in men all over the world, I'm not talking simply about Adventists, but just all over the world, are cancers that affect the lungs and the bronchus. And this is ideally likely because of smoking. Though in Kenya, the leading cancer in men is throat. I think that is attached to intake of alcohol and to a large extent I can say it's the kind of foods we eat. The second one in men is prostate, which likes to attack men when they are probably 60 years and above. And you'll find one thing about prostate cancer is that it attacks you in your retirement. At the time when you think you're now accumulated wealth, you want to sit back and rest. Most of the prostate cancers I have seen myself and patients are usually 60 and above. But prostate cancer comes so bad because it interferes with you, your marriage, it interferes with your frequency to the toilet, and sometimes it can even make it difficult for you to travel. But most of the time it begins as prostate enlargement and complications of that sort, then later on it graduates to prostate cancer. So you can see it's also one common one, colon and rectal cancer. It is largely due to diet, especially animal protein. You can see it there, and then we have cancer of the pancreas. Is what affects men mostly. What about women? The same thing, lung and bronchus are the ones affecting women the most. Then we have breast. So you can see it's like the same. Hormonal follows next, then colon and rectum, then we have pancreas, and then we have ovarian cancers. After ovarian, we have cervical cancers. So you can see that these cancers are wiping out people. I want us just to discuss the steps through by which cancer actually develops. And I shared with you the other day that cancer has 3 stages of development. And some of these stages may be over 10 years apart. The first stage of development of cancer in the body is what we call initiation. And like I told you, initiation is a condition where free radicals get into the cells, nucleus, and damage the DNA. I told you something important. I think we even shared with a brother of mine the other day that one of the important things you'll find in the body that is very critical is the integrity of the cell, which leads to the integrity of the tissues, then the integrity of the organs, then the integrity of the organ systems, then the integrity of the entire body. Now we need to understand that every kind of disease that we deal with, we must look at it at the cellular level. Disease is normally not just that big. Before you have a tumor in your brain, or you have a tumor in your organ, or you have a tumor somewhere in your body, the whole concept is that it begins at a cellular level, meaning that the cells in your body are being attacked at the cellular level. And the interesting thing is that the true cause of cancer usually is free radicals. Free radicals, like I shared with you, these are unstable what? Elements that have an outer energy level that does not have enough
Electrons.
Electrons,
Electrons.
isn't it?
Yes.
So it has to borrow or steal from the others, and because it's stealing from the others remain unstable because of that. So this idea of constantly stealing from each other damages the tissues in the body, and to a large extent damages the DNA, allowing the DNA to be exposed to what we now call mutation. And actually one thing you learn about initiation is that initiation is usually permanent and irreversible damage to the DNA. Before a cell can come to a point where the initiation will lead to a cancer, is that cell is damaged to the point where it cannot be repaired. And remember that cells like this are damaged every day in the body. By the way, in a single day, I was reading a study the other day that was indicating that over 100,000 of our cells usually go through irreversible damage. That is an ordinary person. How many?
100,000.
100,000 every day. So what happens to this 100,000? The body has to do what? Has to clear them all out. So usually, cancer cells will begin to reproduce and go beyond initiation when the body's mechanisms of dealing with these cells that have undergone permanent and irreversible damage is not sufficient. You get the point?
Yes.
So the real point is that the free radicals get into the cells and nucleus and damage the DNA. And you can see the free radicals over there. So you realize that the antioxidants, which we spoke about, present largely in vegetables, in fruits, and most of the things we have, the antioxidants donate free electrons to stabilize the free radicals. Meaning cancer will get into your body when the level of free radical production in your system is higher than the antioxidants that are present in your body. Is it making sense?
Yes.
So we can say to a large extent that the cells in the body have to actually be initiated before someone gets cancer. And one more point that you need to understand is free radicals can cause damage, but there are some things that impair the cells to the point that they cannot either repair or remove cells that are damaged. One of them is caffeine. I have always had people talk about drinking tea, but I can guarantee you, tea drinking and coffee drinking is one of the leading causes of cancer in the world. You heard me? You will not hear this mostly in most of the books that you have or anywhere you go. But if there's anyone you know who is taking tea consistently with the kind of toxins we have in the environment today, I can guarantee you is that it is very easy for their cells to lose the integrity, and it interferes with the repair of the DNA. And that is the reason why usually people who take a lot of tea develop ulcers that do not heal. Because the cells within your gut are supposed to be repaired and replaced in about 3 to 5 days. Meaning if I'm having an ulcer, then ideally my body should be able to heal it in about 3 to 5 days. But why is it not healing in 3 to 5 days? Number one could be dehydration, making food very abrasive, so it grabs on the same wound again and again. Number two could be intake of spices. Spices are irritants that interfere with that. I'm actually covering something about ulcers now. You get the point? If you're taking a lot of pepper, you're taking nutmeg, you're taking a lot of cinnamon, even ginger can be abused. I remember there was a lady I know who used to cook chapatis with ginger. And every time I ate them, I would burn the whole day. burn the entire system because she would put a lot of ginger in the food. So you realize that the way you spice food can cause irritation, and this irritation interferes with the mucus lining. By the way, you know alcohols rise up the mucus lining in the digestive system, exposing it to the acids that are present within the digestive system. And that is the reason why alcohol brings a lot of ulcers, but you don't feel the pain because it's also an anesthetic, isn't it? So it causes wounds, causes damage, but it benumbs you at the same time. So you don't even know you are sick until the day you stop drinking. It's the point. That is when you realize your digestive system is actually really impaired. So we realize that caffeine consumption is really a leading cause of this impairment. And another common carcinogen is benzopyrene. Benzopyrene, by the way, is found in tobacco. I'll talk about it as we move forward. It is found in charcoal broiled meats, alcohol, and it is also found in black pepper. You heard me. It is found in mustard. It's found in mustard, carcinogens that form in mustard, and also it is found in oxidized cholesterol. Now, what is oxidized cholesterol? What is oxidation? Maybe we begin from that. Two things I'm talking about.
Rancid oil.
Yeah?
Addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen.
Removal of hydrogen. So to a large extent, when we add oxygen to anything that is cholesterol, most of the time in which foods? Puddings, custards, bakeries, you get? Most of these things that are baked or fried, they're usually highly oxidized. Even deep frying oxidizes food. Any food that has been deep fried, including even mandazis, fish, meat, all these things, there's some kind of oxidation that takes place. Oxygen is good and we need in the cell, but oxygen can cause a lot of damage. By the way, if you listen to Sister White talking about milk, eggs, and sugar added together doing more damage than meat, she's talking about oxidized what? Cholesterol. You heard me? That is what she's talking about. This causes more damage than anything. And those are the things that actually cause free radicals to increase in the body. So you can see what I was talking about. This cell has unstable electrons in the outermost energy level of this element, and it steals one from this one, making this one unstable. This steals from the next, making the other unstable. The process continues on and on and on. And the major things that cause these are things like smoke, overeating, can cause a lot of free radical production, and that is why you find in Sister White's book, she says, many Adventists eat more than is necessary. Do you know that? Overeating is one of the sins Jesus spoke about in the Bible. Beware lest any of you be overcharged with what? Surfeiting and drunkenness are the pillars of this one. Surfeiting is overeating ideally. So that is one of the things that causes the same, a high fat diet. And that is what I showed you right away. A high fat diet usually is a high animal protein diet. The two are the same. I'm trying to make sure we are connecting what we've been learning again and again. A high fat diet is one of the major causes of free radicals. And then excessive exercise. This is somewhere I want us to really agree, by the way. Exercise is good. By the way, if you exercise every day for a period of 2 weeks, actually you double your mitochondria. You heard what I said? Meaning someone who's been doing exercise every day, 1 hour every day for 2 weeks, your mitochondria double. Now what is the work of mitochondria in the body? Meaning your energy levels will be higher for all the functionings of the body. And that is why we are told in the spirit of prophecy, in the management of patients, they should never always be in bed. Patients should have some time to walk around, do some kind of work that is they are capable to do based on their ability, but they should never be lying in beds month after month, year after year, because they need more energy production. And that is why you find in sanatoriums, we normally have guardians laid aside that are apportioned to patients so that they can tend even as they stay there. You get the point? When you begin walking now, you do that because we know mitochondria double. By the way, if you take 3 days in bed, sleeping the whole day, your mitochondria reduced by half. Yes, you take 3 days to reduce them by half, but how long? 2 weeks to double them. You get how serious that is? So that means daily exercise will make you stronger, will remove fatigue, and will enable your system to function optimally. But excessive exercise produces free radicals. And if you do exercise a lot, you will begin having production of epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are stress hormones. Anybody who is over exercising, your body will react as though you are under stress. You get the point? Because the normal processes of the body cannot meet the demands of oxygen and nutrients due to that excessive exercise. And most of the time, this will bring in production of free radicals. So exercise is good, but do not over-exercise. Most of us don't even need to daily go to the gym. You heard me? There are some ideas about exercise that are what? Exaggerated. And that is the reason why people who over-exercise usually are sick. You may think that running too much will make you healthy. Running too much will make you sick over time. And maybe even because another thing is trauma, injury, and inflammation. Inflammation is redness, swelling, heat that is usually caused by anything that has damaged your tissues. It may be arthritis, it may be anything, it may be toxins in the body. Too much UV light, excessive radiation in general, too much or too little oxygen for too long, that can also cause production of free radicals. That is why we talk about air and ventilation in your rooms. Always have enough air flowing in even through the night. And then aging is also another thing that can cause production of. So people who are older need to be taking plenty of raw vegetables and fruits than those who are young. If you're having your grandparents and your parents, ensure that you educate them to be taking much of their food when raw. Plenty of fruits, plenty of vegetables. Don't go back home and put them on margarine and put them on sodas and put them on milk and tea. Don't you see you're killing them? You need to understand that is very important when it comes to issues about cancer. So the first line of defense, like I said, for the body is that a cell has the ability to repair its own DNA or even cut out the damaged DNA. There are enzymes that run up and down on the DNA looking for any part of the DNA where there is a damage and trying to ensure that it is corrected. If it can't repair it, then it has to be cut out. And that is the work of the body. So usually when the body cannot do this, then there is when cancer begins. So antioxidants such as lycopene. Lycopene is found majorly in tomatoes, and it is also found in, there's a fruit called cover fruit, and it's also found majorly in substances that have this reddish color. There is some amount of lycopene that is found in watermelon. So these things that have this reddish color have lycopene. Then we have vitamin A. Vitamin A is found in, these are carotenoids that are present mostly where they are carotenoids. So majorly they are found in carrots, you get, and things that have the color of carrots. Then we have vitamin C, vitamin E, we have selenium, and genistein to stop the free radicals from harming the cell. So you need to have plenty of fruits and vegetables to be able to achieve that. These are the best fruits that are high in antioxidants. That is strawberry, plum, orange, red grapes. Kiwi fruit, by the way, is one of the best. Kiwi fruit is the best fruit for protecting the DNA. It's been researched for a long time. So it's the best, by the way, for protecting the DNA. Pink grapefruit, white grapes, banana, apple, and tomato. And that is what I shared with you. 11% of what you eat should be fruits. And 22% should be vegetables, isn't it? So we made that clear there. Vegetables that have antioxidant abilities, garlic, kale, that is sumawiki, spinach, Brussels sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, broccoli, peas, red bell pepper, onion, and
corn.
I hope I'm not too fast. You can get those things. So most cancer-causing chemicals enter the body as procarcinogens. They don't come in as carcinogens. They become carcinogens once they go through the liver. The liver will produce what we call phase 1 enzymes, and these phase 1 enzymes will usually convert procarcinogens into actual carcinogens. So usually you find most of the time the procarcinogens that enter the body will be converted by the liver into actual carcinogens. And these procarcinogens, we realize, are usually found on the surface of those that are fried. So in order for them to become dangerous, carcinogens capable of damaging the DNA, they must first be broken down by phase 1 enzymes produced in the liver, like we are seeing here. And garlic can come to the rescue. Garlic contains what we call allyl sulfides, which limit the production of phase 1 enzymes. And that is why it is good to take at most 2 garlic cloves per day. If you're not sick, don't go beyond 2. But garlic is very high in minerals. At the same time, it's a natural antibiotic. And at the same time, it can help the liver deal with these carcinogens. So garlic contains something called allyl sulfides, which enables the liver to produce phase 2 enzymes. Phase 2 enzymes usually have a way of ensuring that carcinogens are not produced. Other things are what we call cruciferous what? Vegetables. By the way, when someone has cancer, we give them a lot of these vegetables. And they contain what we call sulforaphane, which boosts the production of phase 2 enzymes. What are cruciferous vegetables, by the way? Give me examples. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, lettuce, sukuma wiki or kales. All those are cruciferous vegetables. And that is why you need to love cabbage. And if you're loving cabbage, love it raw. With broccoli, steam it. Cauliflower and the others. As much as possible, ensure that you are someone who loves a lot of veggies and a lot of fruits. These things will protect your liver and they will protect you. Vitamin C prevents the formation of carcinogens from nitrates in the colon. And I told you kiwi fruits have quite a lot of vitamin C. And then we have, of course, the oranges, the tangerines, and also we have the family that is the most colorful among the veggies. So you know they are either very green or very red or sometimes yellow. I love the way God gave color. Another thing is dietary fiber. I shared with you that the liver will always flush out toxins through the bile, isn't it? Into the digestive system. So you need fiber to be able to bind all these things and flow them out. A low fiber diet will mean that whatever the liver flushes out into the digestive system is reabsorbed. Because the transit time of food is too long. The body needs to travel very fast. And that is why I told you fiber will bind the bile and the fats and enable them to be flushed out, allowing your liver to be cleansed. And that is why whenever we are cleansing the liver, when we manage patients who have cancer, we always put them on what we call enemas. And we give them a lot of fiber to ensure their bowel movements are regular, and as much as possible, whatever the liver is pouring out is taken out. We are together. Because when we trigger cleanse, normally when we are managing a cancer patient, we normally put them on serious detox. So because we are detoxing so much, the liver is putting out a lot of toxins into the digestive system. So what should we do to get them out? Increase the amount of fiber. That is why we increase the amount of fiber, and we also do enemas. So fiber in the diet really protects you and enables you not to have cancer. The liver also produces phase 2 enzymes to cut off the dangerous residue that phase 1 enzymes leave behind. So the phase 2 enzymes will take care of the carcinogens that were converted by phase 1 enzymes that we saw earlier. And we realize that that is important. Now, stage 2 in cancer development is what we call promotion. So we say stage 1 is initiation, stage 2 is promotion. Now, what do you think promotion is? We say stage 1, the cell is irreversibly damaged. And we are realizing that to that point now, it cannot be repaired due to factors like caffeine consumption, due to factors like smoking and many other things, production of high amount of free radicals. The damage is too high, we have low antioxidants. Now what about promotion? If the first line of defense fails and a cell undergoes potentially cancerous changes, the body's best defense is to destroy the cell or keep it from dividing rapidly. So those are the two things the body can do. So what about promotion? Promotion is a situation where these cells are initiated to divide rapidly, and I shared with you that there are some things that trigger this rapid division of cells, and there are some I mentioned during the week. One of them that I shared with you is obesity. I talked about obesity, I talked about a high-fat diet. By the way, a high-fat diet, obesity, and alcohol are promoters of promotion of cancer. They allow these cells to divide rapidly. And I shared with you that milk and eggs have hormones, and most of the time the milk hormones allow the cells to begin proliferating or dividing too fast. So we realize that to a large extent, someone taking milk every day, eating eggs every day, someone who is fat, they're having a lot of fat in their system, they're obese. Usually, if a cancer cell is damaged irreversibly, these factors in the body will allow the system to begin dividing continuously and without control. Now you need to understand that the omega-6 fatty acids found in corn and sunflower oil seem to promote rapid cell division. And that is why we say most vegetarians and those ones who want to live healthy, it's better you switch from coconut oil and olive oil. Most of the oils that are in the supermarket are usually very high in omega-6. Omega-6 and omega-3 must be balanced. There is a ratio that omega-6 and omega-3 must have all the time. And you will find nuts have that ratio. When you take a lot of oil that has been processed, you will realize that you'll be getting an excess of omega-6. And that is why when you're cooking with Rina or Elianto or the other types of oil, ensure that you use them moderately and don't boil them to the point you heat them. You know that steaming? Yeah. It is better to add the oil on top of the meat. Ukishaweka nyanya na kitunguu ndio unamwaga mafuta kidogo just for the taste. But don't have the habit of frying your food all the time by heating the oil first. You are actually having a lot of omega-6 and you are actually ensuring that you are turning that gas that comes out. That smell is usually very carcinogenic. The omega-3 fatty acids in the flax and olives may thwart tumor growth by crowding other parts out of the cells. And that is why I think it is important to understand that you need to take flax seeds at least every day. I told you you can mix flax and chia and pumpkin, grind them, put them in your diet. It will not cost you a lot. 1 kilo of flax can take you a whole month. You heard me? And 1 kilo of flax can only be about 800 shillings to 1,000. So it's not something that I think will destroy your life. But remember, flax seeds are very high in omega-3. And omega-3 is good for the brain, for the nervous system, at the same time in fighting cancer cells. So you need to understand this very important. Another thing about promotion is reproductive tissues are particularly cancer prone, dividing rapidly when triggered by the body's own sex hormones. And that is why you realize prostate cancer and breast cancer are very common because we are taking a lot of hormones from the animals that increase our estrogen levels. I told you estrogen is a building what? A building hormone. Meaning if you have high levels of estrogen, it promotes fast growth of breast cells in a woman. And that is why if a woman is taking estrogen supplements as contraceptives, or in any way they are using any kind of oil, kujipaka, that has estrogen. I don't know if you know that many of the oils women use as added body lotion have estrogen. And most of the time, this high level of estrogen will trigger rapid division of cells, either in the uterus or in the breast. And this is something you need to understand is very important. That is why women need to, as much as possible, use either coconut oil, or olive oil, or something that you know does not have anything that promotes production of estrogen. So you need to be very careful about it when you are using any lotion on your body. Anyone who knows the name they give it is telling the ingredients. How do you know that something has estrogen? Any oil or lotion? I think I've taught this before, yeah?
Estradiol.
Yeah, estradiol, it's talking about estradiol. How many have heard of paraben? The lady is here. Maybe if you find any woman having a lotion, go and look at the package. Can you look at paraben? Ethyl paraben or methyl paraben? Paraben is another name for estrogen. So usually those countries abroad, they throw them back here in Africa, and most women use them. And that is the reason why using those lotions will increase the amount of estrogen, which will interfere with your monthly cycle. These women will have a lot of pain during the cycles, and at the same time, tenderness of breasts. And at the same time, it may trigger fibroids. At the same time, breast cancers, because of so much estrogen that is being produced. By the way, a high-fat diet makes a woman have more estrogen than they should. You get the point? Those are very important. It is interesting that soy products contain isoflavones, which act as estrogen, leaving less room for the body's estrogen. That is why the best way of preventing breast cancer for women and fibroids is take a lot of soy products, soybeans and soy milk. Because soy produces estrogen mimicas that makes the body to lower the amount of estrogen it has. Meaning to lower the body's estrogen, what do? Give them a lot of soy. That is why women who have breast cancer, we give them soy milk every day as treatment. Why do you think they're doing it? What is the trick? We are lowering the body's estrogen by ensuring the body has estrogen mimicas in large amounts. That is a very important point that you need to understand there. Cruciferous vegetables can turn bad estrogen into good estrogen. And that is why I told you that a lot of veggies are very important. The third stage of cancer is usually what we call progression. Progression is if all other defenses fail and the damaged cell spawns a tumor, the question is whether it will build itself a blood supply and invade surrounding tissues. This is why we say that cancer is purpose. After it has destroyed the laws of the body, it has gone against order and regulation, it has now grown. Essentially now it begins producing blood vessels that allows it to feed itself. And that is why you realize that scientifically we call this process angiogenesis. 10 years may pass before a tumor is ever found. But usually cells that are cancerous, after they have been promoted and they have not been repaired and they have not been removed from the body, they begin producing some substances that trigger the area around them to develop new blood vessels that supply them. That is how you realize the tumor begins to grow. It's growing very rapidly. Why? Because it has reached a stage where it can make its own blood vessels and feed itself. That is why you can have a stomach cancer and it grows to a point where you can't go to the prolonged. You may have a throat cancer and now you can't swallow. Because it's now dividing faster, at the same time it's feeding itself. And that is why these things take a while. Genistein in the soybean also suppresses the tumor's production of growth factors. So these growth factors can actually be hindered by using soybean. So you see, soy is very important. Another thing that is important is resveratrol in red grapes, which has COX-2 inhibitors. Turmeric also has curcumin, which suppresses the tumor's production of growth factors. So if you look at it again, you see management of cancer is quite easy if these things are part of your diet. If you cook with turmeric in a large way, you are actually hindering progression of cancer within your body. So the summary that has been done of 4,500 studies This is that Dr. Gabriel Feldman, director of prostate and colorectal cancer, American Cancer Society, says, we don't need years of research. If people would implement what we know today, cancer rates will drop. It's that simple. And what do we know today? Listen to what he says. The director of National Cancer Institute's Division of Cancer Prevention and Control concluded a great number of studies have shown that a diet rich in fruits and vegetables has a protective effect against cancer. Now, I want to tell you that in my practice, I've been able to manage quite a number of cancer cases. And one thing we do when we find someone who has cancer, especially early diagnosis, they have not gone for chemo, they have not gone for radio most of the time. They have just been diagnosed with having a breast cancer, cervical cancer, and the rest. What we do is that we give them several liters of vegetables and fruit juices in a day. Of course, the fruits we minimize because we know that sugar, cancer cells are more attached to sugar than anything else. We are told cancer cells have an affinity for sugar that is 15 times more than ordinary cells. Meaning if I'm taking any biscuit, I'm drinking any soda, I'm taking any processed food, the cancer cells are the ones that are doing what? Are feeding on it. But today if you go to Texas Cancer Center, you'll find many of the patients there on soda and biscuits. Some of them are on white rice, some of them are taking bread, and they're having tumors at the same time. Meaning they are feeding the tumors directly because they have a high affinity. If they took more vegetables and fruits, usually that will happen. That is why in most cancer cases, we put you on a raw diet for 1 month as we initiate the treatment, most of the time. If your cancer is stage 2 and above. Because we know in that 1 month, what are we doing? We are weakening the cancer cells by suppressing their food. But we are feeding the body's what? Cells and boosting the immunity. So we realize that this is what authorities are saying. Persons with high fruit and vegetable intakes have about half the risk of people with low intakes. A lack of a single serving each day may add up to a great deficit over time. So cancer does not come overnight. It's the fact that the whole of this week, haujakula any fruit. It's the fact that you're not getting sufficient sleep. It's the fact that you're not eating vegetable salads. It's the fact that you're not exercising. I mean, you're not doing so much, and these things pile over time. So cancer cannot be said to be one thing. It is a lot of disobedience of the laws of health, a lot of neglect to do things you need to do, and then over time, something in your system begins to go astray, and after years, you begin to realize you're having a tumor. Conclusions to lower the risk of cancer. Let me cover this just quickly and I make some observations. One is stop smoking. Make common sense dietary changes that we've spoken about. We spoke about the dietary changes that you're supposed to make. You remember I covered that during the week. So I won't talk about that at the moment. Another thing is, in 1999, there were 63,100 deaths from cancer, and most of these were caused by tobacco. 173,000. 20,000 from alcohol consumption. This could have been completely prevented with total abstinence. Science also indicates that a third of these cancer deaths, that is 187,700 of the 563,100, are directly to like I shared with you, 70% to 80% of all chronic diseases are linked to what you eat on the table. It's either you are here or you're on this side every day. And like I told you, it's not something, we don't have like an elixir of life for cancer. It's making good choices every day. Whenever we go to seminar, people ask me usually, Joshua, how can I keep myself from having cancer? I tell them it is not some elixir of life. It's not some vitamin that we want to create that everyone should take every day to avoid cancer. It is basically obeying the laws of what? Of health, doing what is right every day. They are related to nutrition. Imagine if you took fruits every day. you took vegetables every day, you did a salad every day, you exercised, you took plenty of water, you had adequate rest. All these things will collectively protect your body and can even reverse a cancer development process that is on the way right now. But the problem is most people always wait until they are in trouble. That is when they begin to make a change regarding the issue of cancer. So you can see that it's very clear. Tobacco can cause cancers in the lung, in the lip, in the mouth, in the throat, in the voice box, in the trachea, all the way through. I'm assuming most of us are not smokers. I'll go past esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas, blood, and kidney, cervix, leukemia, colon, skin, and even the penis. Alcohol also is linked to cancer to a large extent of the esophagus, the mouth, the larynx, and the liver. And you can see mostly the esophagus is the one that is what? Affected. And that is why I told you in Kenya, throat cancers are on the rise more than the others because most Kenyans drink and smoke and take nyama choma and most of these things. And you realize the second one is now the mouth. Then we have the larynx, then we have the liver. So you can actually see how fatalities come from this thing that people practice every day. And that is why every hospital today is having a cancer center. Because cancer patients have to be now separated because their numbers are increasing. The other one is coffee. Because of caffeine, coffee and caffeine are the leading causes of bladder, breast, ovary, pancreas, and colon cancer. And that is why every time someone takes coffee, they are causing a heart disease. They are interfering with the ability to handle stress. They are interfering with the ability to understand the Bible. At the same time, they cannot maintain relationships without passions, overcoming them, anger, or other things. At the same time, they are creating cancer. By the way, coffee is the leading cause of bladder cancer. Bladder cancer, because where does it go? Where does it take longest? See, your bladder keeps the urine. Meaning most of the time the effect of the coffee and the tea you take will be felt in your urinary system. And that is the reason why it affects those areas the most. But at the same time, stimulants interfere with hormonal balance in women. If you want to have hormonal imbalance in women, number one, take contraceptives. If you want hormonal imbalance. Number two, take processed foods. You will have hormonal imbalance. Number three, take hormones from animals. That is milk and eggs. You will have hormonal imbalance. Number three, take stimulants. That is tea, coffee, caffeine, nicotine, and the other one is theobromine. You heard of theobromine? It's found in chocolate and cocoa. So most of the beverages, by the way, are just off. So chocolate, by the way, causes prostate cancer. In one study, men who consumed 20 milligrams of theobromine per day doubled their risk of prostate cancer. Chocolate also contains another carcinogen called alpha-methylbenzyl alcohol. So you can see, just 20 milligrams per day doubled their risk. Now, Cadbury milk chocolate has 44 milligrams. Chocolate syrup, 2 tablespoons, has 89. Chocolate flavor, this one has, this has 120 mg. So you realize to a large extent, chocolate in any form will trigger prostate cancer. Other links for prostate cancer, number one, saturated what? Fat, majorly found in animals, red meats, dairy products. This is reported in the American Cancer Society Guidelines for Nutrition and Cancer Prevention pamphlet in Michigan, 1996, very early. So you can see, as we are learning again and again, the Adventist message will protect you from cancer. You get the point? But if you follow what the world is offering, you will not. Now I understand what Sister White says, a physician in our church recommending people to take meat should be stopped from practicing. It's because of the links and the studies that have been done that can show that there is a correlation between animal protein, by the way, and cancers. But the sugar is linked to over 8 cancers: colon, rectal, breast, ovarian, uterine, prostate, kidney, nervous system. And one thing you need to know about sugar, sugar, by the way, is one of the worst poisons that you can put into your body. But you know, sugar is not weka kwa chai. Most of us, when you think of sugar, what comes to your mind?
Chai.
Say chai. And milk?
Chai.
Hata si chai. Wengine wanaonanga ni I've been asking patients, do you take milk? Wanasema hapana, mimi sikunywangi maziwa. Namuuliza unakunywa kwa chai? Eti but hiyo ni chai. Sinywangi maziwa ni kunywa. When you talk about sugar, you need to know that anything that has gone through refining, white rice is sugar. Soda is sugar. You get? Anything that has gone through refining will have the same effects. Of course, sugar that has been refined, the common sugar is more toxic, but all of them have the same effect. Sugar naturally, like we said, will lower your immune system, allowing even cancers and tumors to continue growing, even lowering immunity to the point that you have viruses and bacteria overcoming your system. You have a weak immune system. But at the same time, refined sugars, like I said, will lower your pain threshold. People who take a lot of sugar, either bakeries, biscuits, cakes, bread, that is what they eat most of the time, most of the refined foods, you will realize that they can't handle both emotional pain and they both can't also handle physical pain. Their pain threshold is what? Is lower. Meaning emotionally they are unstable. You will realize that. Sugar causes also PMS. What is PMS? Post-menstrual syndrome in women. The more sugar you take, the more difficult it will be for you to handle your periods. There will be like labor. And that is why when you lower your intake of sugar, you have the same. Another thing about sugar you need to know is sugar is linked to over 8 cancers. Like I've told you, cancer cells have a high affinity to the intake of sugar. The intake of sugar will trigger the onset of diabetes. It may not come when you are young, but it may come just when you're 40. I meet a lot of old men and women who tell me, Joshua, I never imagined I'd have diabetes. What do they? They have diabetes. Na si eti hawajareform. They're in the church on the reform, but reform yao ni gani? Wacha nyama. You get? White rice wanakula, chai wanakunywa. You get the point? And I tell you that the reformation is not wacha nyama. Nyama is a very small thing. You get the point? Reformation is holistic. It's habit. It's a lifestyle change. And you need to know this why sugar causes all these cancers. And most of the time, their oxidation level is also very high in this. Fat intake is the biggest problem with breast cancer. And you can see this projected in here. I told you women who have a lot of fat, breast cancer going our white haraka. If they develop the breast cancer in just a year, itakuwa imeenda kwa lungs, imeenda kwa liver, imeshuka kwa the other organs. A woman who is taking low fat can stay with breast cancer for a long time without even knowing, because the lump may not even come out quickly or easily. So the point is, foods high in fats like meat, cheese, milk, and eggs usually make both breast cancer and prostate cancer to be very aggressive. You know, there are cancers that can wipe you out in several months, and some people can stay with cancer for years. It depends ideally on what you eat and how you live every day. Now, what is cheese? Do you know cheese contains more milk than milk? Yeah. Because cheese is what? Is milk that has been condensed, imeshikanishwa. Meaning most of the time it has a lot of bacteria and viruses, and it has a lot of casein, the milk protein. It's a mother of allergies. A French study of 2,969 persons showed that individuals consuming cheese had a 20% increase of breast cancer compared to those who never use cheese. Daily consumers had 50% increased risk compared to never users. But I think you get the principle. The insulin-like growth hormone, you remember it? It must trigger that rapid cell division. And of course, that may cause also hormonal imbalance. Another thing is oxidized cholesterol. I spoke about that, high in mutagens and also Aflatoxins. What are aflatoxins? Do you know lung cancers can be caused by poor ventilation in your bedroom? You know that? But let me ask you a question. This is a question I ask most people, and most of the time when we're having a debate with someone about closing windows or opening, we bring this idea. Which part of the house do you spend most of your time? Kitchen, sitting room, bedroom. Bedroom. Which is the most ventilated place in your house?
Sitting.
Now, do you know that, by the way, mold and fungi love places where there is no sunlight, there is no proper ventilation. And to a large extent, there are rooms that if you sleep in and you've been used to proper ventilation, you get sick the same day. Have you visited someone that they gave you a bed to sleep in a room and you became sick that night? You get me? There are places that I've gone to and I've become sick the following day. Because there's been no circulation, I don't know how much mold is there. I don't know. That is the reason why even our bedding should be aired every week, if not washed every week. We need to have proper ventilation and a lot of cleanliness. When it comes to things like rice and wheat and nuts, they should be very dry. Even in the house, they should always be dry because they always have high levels of aflatoxins. Aflatoxins can cause, number one, food poisoning. Number two, they can also cause cancers. That is why moldy food should not be eaten. Bread, it can be groundnuts, it can be peanut, anything that has mold will trigger the onset of disease and may even bring allergies. So they are high in nutrients. The same with oxidized cholesterol. So cheese, you can see all the things you are mentioning here have their background from milk. You'll realize that they affect the system to a large extent. Cancer from molds. Moldy peanuts and other nuts usually have cancer. Moldy corn, moldy cheese ring, moldy apples in any form, other fruits affected by soft rot. If you find a fruit is rotting, don't watch. Don't eat. Most of us will just eat it. Don't eat anything that is undergoing rotting. And that is why I tell most people, be careful with taking fruit juices given by the road. Because most of the time, they blend the ones that are rotten. Because you won't see it in the juice. You get the point? I would rather buy fruits and go make a fruit juice well at home than drink a lot of mold by the roadside with added sugar. So you need to make a decision there. Canned grape juice and wines also have the same. That is why wine usually has a lot of mold. Much of the wine people take, by the way, has a lot of what? Mold. From Tulane University comes a sobering report. Healthy chickens or turkeys and their eggs for human consumption are commonly infected with which cause? In these animals. So cancer viruses are very high in chicken, very high in fish, by the way, because of the sea. Some of these viruses can infect and transform human cells into vitro, and human blood shows evidence of infection with these viruses. By that time, I would have shown you the deformities in chicken and many others that are not reported these days because it will bring down their cells down. But usually these animals are very sick. And some of them may be having several heads, three legs, and such like complications because of how they are managed. So we need to understand that there is a very important report there that we need to get to and understand. So we need to understand also the issue about proteins that we covered, but I don't want to cover that because they are looked into it. So an Australian study has an association between a host of different animal products and colon cancer in women. Implicated foods included red meat and liver as well as seafood and dairy products. In this study, however, the very worst food group was eggs, with the heaviest consumers experiencing 6 times the risk of colon cancer. Now again, you're seeing why I was teaching you all about vegetarian lifestyle. Animal products also cause breast cancer. And you can see this is the intake of meat, eggs, and butter. These are guys who take it once a week. These are guys who take it 2 to 4 times a week. These are guys who take it almost daily. So you can see once a week for meat, once a week for eggs, once a week for butter and cheese. Almost the same level. 2 to 4 times a week, meat, you can see butter and cheese higher. Almost daily, meat is now leading in causing breast cancer. So you can see that these things are just playing all around. Obesity and breast cancer. So you realize obesity will affect you, especially women, premenopause and postmenopause. There are risks that they have. Women who are postmenopause have a higher risk of being obese and have a higher risk of actually having breast cancer, 12 times than those ones who are premenopause. You get it? And this indicates the reason why most women who have breast cancer is when now they are stopping to have kids, when now they want to settle down, is when you realize you have a lump in your breast and you don't know what just happened to you. Obesity and the risk of death. So you can see that the more obese you are, the more likely you have an increased risk of what? Of death, both for men and women. One recent study found that women who exercise an average of 4 hours per week reduce their risk of breast cancer by nearly 60% compared to non-exercise. By the way, exercise, I want to tell you, I tell most people exercise is as important as prayer. That is how I view it personally. That is the philosophy I wrote in. However busy I may be, I know that if I don't go for my morning runs, I won't be able to manage stress properly. I won't stick to my plan. I won't conquer the day. I won't be able to eat well in the morning. I won't do so many things. I won't have energy. That is why I told you in your menu, if you type for what? Exercise that you are planning to follow, not for Joshua, just together. Something you can work with so that you have a lifestyle. It's important you understand. So you can see all this about how exercise can reduce cancer. I won't cover that because there are a few things I want to add. Natural killer cells, by the way, are increased by moderate exercise, moderate sunshine, vegetarian diet, selenium-rich foods, sufficient omega-3s, garlic, deep sleep. By the way, when it comes to sleep, there are things you need to understand. Sleep will improve everything in your body, including repair of cells and strengthening your immunity. But sleep can never be good unless you obey the laws of sleep. What are the laws of sleep? Do you know there are laws of sleep? Yeah, there is a relationship between production of melatonin and light. As long as there is light in your bedroom, you are not fully asleep. You heard me? Your system is never fully asleep. You will never experience that deep sleep phase. And that is why we say when you're sleeping, make sure the lights are off. Even if you're scared. We are together. That is the only way you will learn to sleep. And by the way, people who are healthy can induce sleep. People who are sick have difficulty finding sleep. You didn't get that. If you're very healthy, you can close your eyes and summon sleep and it comes. If you damage your body and your mind and your brain, you will have difficulty sleeping even when you want. Most of the time it's because of the attitude you have when you're sleeping. Rule number 1 of sleep, close the lights, make sure the room is dark, you will sleep well. Number 2, there should be no noise. Every sound and noise should actually be absent. Number 3, no meal 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. Ensure you eat way early for your good sleep. Another point about sleep is do not solve disputes when going to bed. Do not either solve or start disputes when going to bed. Meaning, as a family, kama ni nyumbani, msingoje time ya kwenda kulala nyumba, Professionally, we can still find out mchana or whatever went wrong. So the time for sleeping should not be the time for discussing disputes and interfering with others. If you're using a laptop or a TV, you should switch it off at least 1 or 2 hours before you go to bed, so that the LCD screen and the light, the blue light, does not interfere with your brain. It may make sleeping very difficult. And remember, the best moments of sleep are the first 2 hours between 10 and 12. We are together. So don't have the habit of sleeping by 11 or 12. Sleep by either 9:30 so that by 10 you're gone. So possibly by 10 you should be already asleep. That is the time when the growth hormone is produced a lot, repair is done a lot, and most of the body processes are taking place a lot. So sleep will only help you in that capacity. We are together. If those things are followed, you will sleep well. And make sure you're also well hydrated before you go to bed. At least take some warm water, 30 minutes or 20 minutes before going to bed. Maybe a glass or two. That will help. But don't take too much so that you wake up at night. So, yeah, to go out. Selenium also is very important in reducing dealing with cancer. I think selenium foods, by the way, those who might be finding out, whole grains, broccoli, onions, tomatoes, Brazil nuts, they are actually having high amounts of selenium. Selenium is very good in defeating cancer. You can see the effect of meat eating and cancer covered there. Colon is the one that is mostly affected by meat eating. This is BBQ meat. I don't hear about the effect of benzopyrene. Charcoal broiled meat, 1 kilogram, contains how much of benzopyrene? The same as the one you find in 600 cigarettes. And that is why meat eating is the leading cause of colorectal cancer. Most of the people I have met with colorectal cancer, they eat meat either every day or not less than 3 times a day. So eating meat regularly is the same as smoking 600 cigarettes, especially if you take a kilo every day. So that is the effect of benzopyrene in the body. So you can see the colon cancer risk. Frequency of eating pork, beef, or lamb, and the colon cancer risk. Less than once per month, 0. Once per month to once a week, 39%. 2 to 4 times per week, 50. 5 to 6 times per week, 84. Daily or more, over 100%. So I think if you look at these things, you will realize it's all about proper diet. The basis of defeating cancer is just nutrition. UV light. If you take UV light every day with a regular diet, 24% got skin cancer. Regular diet with vitamin C and E, 0% got skin cancer. So we need vitamin C and E to protect our system from even cancer that comes from UV light. Meaning our protection from cancer ideally comes from a balanced diet with vegetables and fruits. Vitamin C sources are red bell peppers, Brussels sprouts, green grapefruit, strawberries, kiwi, orange, broccoli. We've covered these things over the past. E sources, wheat jam, sunflower seeds, almonds, soybeans, blueberries, wheat jam. They all have vitamin E, and even avocado has a lot of vitamin E. Vitamin A sources, orange yams, carrots, sweet potato, red bell pepper, antelope, and kale, they all have the same. So the point that I'm just trying to portray is cancer is very common, but how we live every day will determine how we deal with it. And we talked about some of the things that cause them and some of the things that don't cause. I want to ask a question perhaps as we steer to the end, because it's almost 9. What are the symptoms that you have to look out for when you may be developing cancer? How do we know that somebody could be having cancer? Because most people, by the time they know they have stomach cancer, it was stage 3. By the time they know they have breast cancer, it's in stage 3 or some stage. What are the signs and symptoms that somebody can look out for so that they can respond to cancer early? Any that you may think of.
lumps within the body, maybe in the breast, belly lines.
Yeah, any lump within your body that is either painful or painless and persistent, meaning it's not a boil, it's a persistent lump. I know of a woman who had a lump for over 3 years. She didn't go to the hospital, she didn't see a doctor, she didn't do a checkup. By the time they were finding out, it was stage 3B, meaning it was close to destroying her life. And by the way, it took her out. A lump that is growing in somewhere in the body of even your parents or people you know, the moment you see a persistent lump, either painful or painless, you need to take note and make sure you see a doctor or make sure that it's well analyzed, because it could be cancer that is growing. That is point number 1. Point number 2.
Hematochezia, or bleeding after having a bowel movement.
Yeah, any blood that persistently appears in your stool. You realize that there's someone who's always telling you, I'm always seeing blood in my stool. I'm always seeing blood in my stool. Or it comes and it goes. There's something we call occult blood. It may not be visible, but it may be there. Sometimes it may be coming, sometimes it may be going. Sasa zingine iko lakini wewe ufanye nini? Huwezi ona. Sasa zingine unaweza iona. I know of a case of a woman who thought she had ulcers. So she kept going to this doctor who was treating her for ulcers again and again for a long duration. Eventually, she went to a new doctor. This doctor told her to go and do an occult blood test on her stool. Occult means hidden. So when they conducted it, they found that actually there's been blood in her stool for a long time. Eventually, they did a biopsy. And they found that she had what? She had actually stomach cancer that has been there for quite some time. So they had to do the colonoscopy, they had to do an endoscopy, they had to look at all these factors, and they realized it was well developed. They thought it was ulcers all along, because someone did not understand why they're having blood in their stool. That could be either a symbol of either stomach cancer. You know, stomach cancer, it can either be affected by the acid to turn into blood. So your stool can become a bit dark than usual, because the blood is reacting with the acid in your stomach. So, if it's in the intestines where the cancer is, you will see blood most of the time. Another symptom that you need to know about cancer: difficulty swallowing. If you realize that someone is just having a problem swallowing that is persistent, they can't swallow food very well, it may be the onset of esophageal cancer or throat cancer. So someone having a symptom of difficulty swallowing, that could be an indication of cancer. You need to at least investigate. Don't just sit back. Another issue that you need to look into that is important when it comes to cancer is a sudden loss of weight within a short time. If someone is not sick, there is no reason why you think they are sick, but they are losing weight within a very short time. That is also very important that you look into that. It's very important that you look into that. Another thing is a persistent cough that comes with blood. Someone is coughing persistently, na ni homa inakaa iishi, lakini akitoa hiyo makamasi, hiyo sputum inatoka some small amount of blood, even with traces of blood. That could also be an indication. And then a loss of appetite for a long time. Someone never has appetite, and you cannot really explain why. That could also be another issue that you may look into. And then a change in bowel movements. A change in bowel movements. Mtu haendi choo kabisa, ama siku zake zinakaa na hindi, siku zingine mbili zinakaa hindi. Those could be indications. Because our time is up and we spent much. Can I answer just one question? You can ask just the two. I'll answer them very briefly so that we have much tomorrow.
My question is about whole grain starch. In places where someone can acquire only with starch. What if you replace it with a starch supplement like CMS? Will it be as effective as now just eating the whole grain?
Okay, I'm getting it. Like you
You
try to carry back
CMS.
you use it say. I think that would be tricky because the psyllium does not provide the minerals and vitamins that you need to process that white to carry still. You get it. It does not contain, so it may help you with bowel movement, but it will not help you with what? With digestion and processing, which also will be dead at the end of the day. But it's better than someone who is doing nothing. You get it? It's better than someone who is doing nothing. So it may help you, but at the end of the day, unrefined food or unbolted is the best.
And how do we get exercise like 2 months or 2 days? Yes.
It's the same way we get eating. If you want to know you're not overeating, you should be able to eat sufficient amount of food to the point where you can eat again if invited. If I get up from my seat and I can't eat anything again, I have overeaten. The only way you know you've eaten sufficient amount of food is by the time you are rising from your seat. If I invite you for another meal, you can do what?
Eat again.
You're quite okay. You can go search it. You should eat to the point where your appetite is still with you and you can eat again. Now, when it comes to the issue of exercise, number one, I like telling most people, is not ideally work. Exercise should be something friendly, enjoyable, and something you look forward to. That is why I tell people in Nairobi, those ones who are in the cities, because you don't go to the garden every day, you don't work in the shamba. Buy a gear for exercise, a nice gear, so that you feel nice in that outfit even when you look at it. Yeah, something you look forward to wearing. When you're going, just buy some shoes that you use for exercise so that you establish a routine. Then when you're exercising, ensure that you don't go so much to the point you can't meet your oxygen needs during the exercise. If you get so exhausted to the point you sleep through the day, you get so exhausted to the point where you can't breathe properly even during the exercise, and your muscles are straining too much, you are doing too much. That is why we say the best form of exercise is brisk walking. The best is brisk walking, by the way. Ile ya mikono na miguu at the same time. But if you can jog reasonably, do it. I don't mean jogging ile is now unreasonable. Jog what? Reasonably. A lot of people call extreme exercise. Exercise should be friendly and reasonable at the same time. So do it sufficient enough to have energy for the rest of the day. Meaning ukienda mazoezi, you can come back and slash. You get it? Most guys I know, they go for exercise, they come back and they sleep because they're too exhausted. That is not beneficial. So usually in most of the books we read, if you are jogging, you should go 2.6 miles every day, 6 days a week. Don't put exercise on something. Yeah, just leave that day alone with God. But you can go 2.6 miles every day, 6 days a week. That is a good criteria. Personally, I use 1 hour to compare. I go for my laps for exactly 1 hour. But because I've been running for a good amount of time, my speed is quite high. So I cover about 4 kilometers within that duration, 4 to 5 kilometers within that duration. Until I come back, then I don't finish just with that, I do the aerobics. Once I'm done with that, and I'm sweating well and I'm feeling nice, that is when now I go take a shower and I take my breakfast. Then now I know my day is set to go. So you can do that. But I say spice it up by buying a good gear. Just invest in some nice truck. Buy some shoes. And be sure that you know the exact time you go. Hata kama ulilala kama umechoka hapo jana, you know in the morning it's what? And you go. And you'll realize that everybody will respect your consistency. I know of people who've joined, about 10 people in my neighborhood. I think there are 10, yeah, by now they're exactly 10. Because they see me go every morning for a long time. So that can help create a community of believers in what you're doing. So exercise is very important for you to pick up. Is there one last question from you?
It's about sleep. You talked of the loss of sleep. Is it at course with these laws to maybe wake up sometime within your hours of sleep to say a prayer, maybe midnight or before the time of waking up? Is it at course with the loss of sleep?
I can say it is at war. Unless you are waking up by conviction about a certain duty and it's not daily. I would rather, by the way, what is the amount of hours we have to spend sleeping that is good for us?
6 to 8.
Yeah. Infants who are below teenage, children who are below teenage will sleep between 10 to 14 hours. But wale wadogo sana can go beyond that. Teenagers should actually sleep between 10 to 12. Yeah. Adults should actually sleep how many hours? 8. 8. Then those ones who are old than us can sleep 9 hours. But you see nowadays sleep is destroyed. Now the point you need to put in place, if you have to sleep 8 hours every day, which is good for you. By the way, your overall performance in the next day is dependent so much on the quality of your sleep. If that is dependent on that, then consider this. Even your performance in school depends on the quality of your brain. How you interpret a 3-hour study done by a lecturer and the end of the day performing your exams is dependent on the kind of food you eat. Are you on exercise? The quality of your sleep? How you manage your stress with God? Your relationship with Him? And how conscious you are about everything. You'll find something that your classmates find difficulty putting in their mind over a period. Your learning ability will be more improved. But the problem is we try to imagine that if I live longer, spend more hours a week, I will perform better. The other thing about prayer, Jesus woke up a great while before dawn, but he was not at all with the laws of nature. I believe that he slept adequately because he obeyed perfectly the laws of heaven. There are instances where we may be called to spend a night in prayer because of labor and ministry and souls that we are laboring for. But I would rather wake up a great while before dawn. If at all you have to wake up, meaning you have to compensate by sleeping early, but make it a routine. One thing we need to learn about the body that I shared with you, train your body to abide by laws that you make. And every evening, examine whether you follow them. Yeah. In my room, when I put the tax up, I've written down my timetable for each day. When I wake up, when I do this, so in the evening, I do this, you will find it. The point that I've learned is when you do that, your performance every day is much better as time goes by. And at the same time, you will not have problems like, oh, today I didn't pray. Because you have a fixed time for waking up. You have a time for prayer that is allocated. You won't come and say, oh, I didn't have time to read designer pages. Because in your regimen, there's time you put for reading spirit or prophecy books. You won't say that you are constantly missing class. I don't know if you know Lowell Hargreaves. You heard of Lowell? Those ones who do amazing facts would have done amazing facts. Do you realize that there is no class that you will start at 9 or 2 or 9 or 3? You will start exactly at what? At exactly 9. The principle we need to understand is that order is the first law of heaven. The same thing with your life. Being healthy does not simply mean cooking well and not eating meat and stuff. it's a very well organized life. You are so well arranged, right from how you do your things, how you plan yourself, how you do all these things. They combine together to make up the health basic. And that is why you are someone who is influential anywhere you go. If we put you in government, you have what to do there. If we put you in missionary work, you have things you do there. As a student, you're the best in your class, not that you're performing in high grades, not essentially, but your performance and output and cooperation in everything indicates that naturally there's something you need. Daniel had an excellent spirit in him, isn't it? I believe it's because he was so orderly. So even in your sleep, have a routine that you don't break, unless it is so necessary. But even if you break the routine, be forgiving. Always get back on your feet and start following it again. There are moments I may go somewhere for a seminar, and the guys just keep me up too late that night. It may interfere with my routine, but after a day I do what? I resumed. Making sense? It's 9, and I want us to rise. There are questions that you can ask tomorrow, because I think we will do a large Q&A. It's there. Your ladies are not around, so I know we'll be with you, man. So I think we'll talk some men stuff to Shasa. Yeah, tomorrow. Guys, oh, I forgot, there's a lady around. We'll also talk some lady stuff. So, I want to thank you for this video. Make sure that you give me your assignment before you go. I hope you carry it. Yeah. Because I'll check over it, I'll try to edit it and try to guide you wherever place you may not have understood. We are praying. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this class and what we've learned today. Help us, dear Lord, to apply and to live by your word. We pray that whatever hindrances Satan may place in our mind to tell us that we are not capable, or that we can do this in the future, or that we are not ready to do it now, or that it's too costly to walk down this road. How we pray that, Lord, may your Spirit counter all those lies and impress our minds that today, if we hear your voice, we should not harden our hearts. We plead that, Lord, in this house of the Sabbath, as we go back to our homes and our houses, may the impression of what we've learned remain to shape and change our lives. Walk with us through this Sabbath, even tomorrow as we come to gather together. For this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.